Okay, good evening to you all. Very good. And if you have not really noticed, there's a lot of good food right at the back of the church by very kind people. So, this is what I am thinking. Okay, but you share your ideas. If you have a break in between, then the eating will take a very long time, because there's a lot of good things to eat. Okay, so I thought we will have the session and then we will try to close it at about 8:45, 8:50 thereabouts, and then after that we can go and drink and eat and talk and whatnot. Is that okay with you all? You won't faint and die. Good. Right, let's begin with a short prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we thank you for walking with us over the past several days as part of our Lenten retreat in this parish of the Nativity of our Blessed Mother. We thank you for the priest and all the ministers who are ministering in this church. All those have come here physically to take part in the talks, and others who have been attending through the online facilities that have been provided. We ask you, as you bring this to a closure, to focus on one important topic, whether we are ministers or thinking of ministering, that is so important for our Christian living, and help us to understand and help us to appreciate that, and help us to make time in our everyday life, so that at some stage of our everyday life there will be time for us to focus on our spiritual well-being. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Right, once again, welcome to every one of you. Today we are going to focus on a topic called Rooted in God. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about, rooted in God. Okay? To help us begin our session, I read to you a text taken from Mark's Gospel, chapter 1, verses 9 to 11. It was at this time that Jesus came from Nazareth in Galilee, was baptized in the Jordan by John. Now as no sooner had he come up out of the water, then he saw the heavens torn apart, and the Spirit like a dove descending on him, and a voice came from heaven, "You are my Son, the beloved, my favor rests on you." The Gospel of the Lord. In our development of lay ministry, okay, as we kind of look back, okay, to our own stories, how we came to be members of this ministry or that ministry, as you recall, who invited you, who called you, what did you respond to, you will say to yourself, yeah, this catechist was pleading with me. She said, come and help us to be a catechist. We're running short of teachers. And I thought to myself, I had my daughter in the catechism class, and since I'm dropping her and picking her up, I thought I will give my time to be a catechism teacher. Or you heard an announcement from the pulpit, the priest telling that we need lectors and commentators and choir members, and something stirred within yourself and you said, okay, I will join one of those ministries. Okay? So while you are here, you can recall your story. Okay? So we came and we decided to join a particular ministry. Okay? And that we have been doing, okay, since the time you joined. But there is something else that lay ministry has not focused a lot. And we are beginning to pay attention that this component is equally important if you are going to be lay ministers in our church. For that matter, whether we are going to be Catholics or whether we are going to be priest or religious, it is a very, very important component for our ministry. And that is to be rooted in God. And that is prayer life. Okay? It is not about saying lay people don't pray. I'm not saying that at all. Your parents have passed on valuable prayer life, whether it's saying the rosary, which is a very, very common practice in our Christian life, in our Catholic life. Traditionally, Catholics prayed the rosary at home. Okay? Some families prayed every night. Okay? And then we got into this very, very busy world where our lifestyle changed tremendously. Instead of working from 8 to 5, we were working at different hours. Then the family prayer collapsed. And then we cultivated some form of prayer life. Either we prayed by ourselves as we were driving the car, or we played some music as we were driving to work, or we put on the earphone and sat in the factory bus taking us to a factory to listen to some Christian music or listen to the gospel. Some form of prayer life that we cultivated. Okay? But praying as a family slowly disappeared. Not intentionally, not because we wanted it, because we're tired of praying as a family, because a lot of other things crept into our lives. And we quietly put it aside. But we kept the Mass, our Sunday worship. Others tried to keep the weekday worship to the best of their ability. Okay? Although, that also, you may notice, we are losing numbers. There are many Catholics who have stopped church for all kinds of reasons. It's not about making judgment on them, but they have decided not to go to church. Okay? They've decided maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, maybe Christmas, and so forth. We have them in our own families, and we have them in our own parishes. Okay? And people can justify by giving all kinds of reasons why they are unable to go to church on a regular basis. Okay? May be valid, may be questionable, but certainly we see these things happening. Okay? But if you're going to be ministers, we have to say to ourselves, we cannot minister without prayer. Some form of prayer. Okay? And it is the easiest thing to give up. Okay? Now priests, you may have come across priests who have left priesthood. Okay? Some of the priests who have ministered in this church or in the diocese, someone that you know who was a priest and now no longer is a priest. If you ask him, if he's your friend and if he talks to you on a personal level, he will tell you this. I stopped prayer. I stopped celebrating Mass. That means I can go through the ritual. I can go to the altar and say the Mass. but I was really not into it. Okay? Just like some of us may come to church to fulfill obligation. I get up on a Sunday morning, I say to myself, oh my God, the Catholics will come at 8 o'clock in the morning, I better go and say the Mass. Okay? But given the option, I rather sleep or do something else. Okay? It's not about the first day I don't pray, then I quit the priesthood. Or the second day I don't pray, but it creeps into you slowly, bit by bit. And eventually, you say to yourself, well, I can get on with life without praying the rosary. I can get on in life without doing my breviary. Okay? And after a while, you'll see it doesn't make sense doing this or doing that or doing this in our church. And then we kind of quit priesthood, we quit religious life, and we quit lay ministry, BEC leaders, that leadership, or this ministry, and so forth. Okay? And it is the realization that is creeping into our lives now that prayer is a very important component of our Christian life. And we do not want to take it lightly as though it is an appendix, but we want to say this is very, very part of the core of my spiritual life, prayer. And unless we dedicate, we make some time available for prayer, we will find it is one of those last things we try to do, and then we say to ourselves, I'm so tired to pray. Dear God, please forgive me, I'm so tired. And then we go to bed. You do that every day, the chances after a while, you won't pray. Okay? So I read the gospel text to you. This is about Jesus' baptism. And in the baptism, he realizes a few things. Firstly, he realizes that the Father loves him. Okay? That the Father loves him. Let me show you the first slide. Okay, it's about the roots. Okay, roots. Okay, now if you're going to have a strong tree, the roots have to be very, very strong, and it must be deeply rooted. Okay, now if you're going to be a good Christian, then we got to be rooted in God. Okay, we cannot live Christian life without God. It won't last. It may for a while, but it cannot last forever. Jesus realizes that right in the beginning of his baptism, that the Father loves him. And his response was to love the Father. So while we might say Jesus' ministry was to bring the good news, we will find Jesus from time to time going up to the mountain to pray all by himself. We'll find Jesus in the scripture going away to the seaside to pray. We might say, Jesus, you have a lot of work to do, you know. A lot of sick people are there waiting for you. There are a lot of people crowding around, listen to you, and you're going away to pray. And Jesus will not answer that question, but he would feel within himself, I need to be in communion with God. I need to be in union with my Father. That's where my life is rooted in. If I don't have that rootedness in my Father, and then my life will only be half. The second thing we noticed that in baptism, he was conscious of his ministry, that he came to proclaim the good news to the poor and to the abandoned. So he went out. He was always on the road. He was always either with the disciples teaching, in parables, or on the Sermon on the Mount, or he is with a group of people healing, casting away the devil, making the lame walk, the blind see, okay? Or he is breaking bread and feeding the hungry. Okay? Then we find him also solidly, quietly, in solitude, in prayer. Okay? These three things. And it all began with his Jordan experience. Now, I do not know where you were baptized. I was baptized in a very little wooden church in Ipoh. I can't remember the priest who baptized me. Neither can I remember my godparents. Okay? But then I was baptized in this, my parish church, in 1951. Okay? That was the beginning of my journey as a Christian, okay, and into that community of believers. Okay? Initially, my parents taught me to pray, and later on, the catechist, from where I learned my catechism, and then the sacraments, whether it's Holy Communion or confession or confirmation. And much later, joined the Legion of Mary, joined the altar service, and later on YCS, and so forth. And later on, when I decided this is what I wanted in life, I decided to become a priest. Okay? But all this was possible of this, my commitment to Jesus, the rootedness in Jesus that my parents taught me, either the night prayer. I can only talk about my tradition, my experience. We come from a mercenary of rosary prayers. Okay, you don't pray the rosary, there's no dinner. That's a simple rule. Today, children will go and report to the police. Okay, but that's the way I grew up. Okay, rosary is so much part of our life. Okay? That's the only devotion we had. We did not have charismatic prayer, neither did we have divine mercy prayer, nor did we have any of this devotion to St. Anthony and all that. It's just rosary. Every day, 9 o'clock, you say the rosary. Okay? That's what it was. Today, what is your spirituality? It may be different. Some of you will be in the charismatic group. Some of you may pray the rosary privately. Some of you will have the 3 o'clock divine mercy prayer. Okay? And some of you will read the Bible and do Bible reflection. Others will do contemplative prayers. Such a variety and richness of prayer life in the Catholic Church since Vatican II. Okay? And not everything has grabbed us. At least something has touched us and grabbed us. And some of this is part of our spirituality. Okay? And then we are also into ministry. Now, ministering people have to take upon themselves that it is important for them to pray. It's not just important for you to do things, but you also got to pray. Okay? Let us look at another slide. This is a tree, and we are not looking at what's happening at the bottom, the roots that we saw. Okay? This is a tree that's fully alive, okay, rich, strong, either branches, trunk, and the leaves. It's right, it's rich, okay, and all this is possible because of the strong roots it has. Our relationship with God is very often determined by the kind of person we are as Catholics. Now, if something is not right with us as Catholics, then we have to kind of examine. Okay? We have to kind of, instead of looking outside, we have to look inside. Okay? In spirituality, it is called intra. To look inside ourselves. Okay? I may have mentioned to you, this is very, very difficult thing to do, because there could be a lot of unpleasant things that we got to face up to. You know, there could be a lot of things that we don't like to kind of look at, but we have to look at it. That's what intra is. Is looking into ourselves and recognizing my weaknesses, my dark sides, my shadow, and all those things that we do not want to face up to. But in order to be a better person, I got to learn to face up to those things. Because these are the things that make me who I am. Okay? So instead of putting on a mask all the time and pretending to be like someone else, I got to learn to admit, this is who I am. Okay? These are my weaknesses in life. These are some of the challenges. This is my family system. Okay? It may not be all that good for me to kind of share with everybody, but that is my life and my story. Okay? It's recognizing these things that I'm able to kind of bring it into prayer. Either to ask God for enlightenment, either to ask God for a heart that will forgive. Oh, my parents did not love me. At least I'm willing to kind of recognize that and to forgive them for whatever reason, that they were busy with their work, that they were busy with other things, that they did not have time for me. Okay? Or as I was growing up, I did go astray. Wrong company, wrong group of people, the life got a little messed up. Okay, this is me. And unless I bring this into prayer, I'll be hiding this. And then I got to kind of constantly put on a mask and to pretend that I am not. Okay? This is part of our spirituality. In order to kind of grow and blossom and allow the grace of God to work in our lives, we also allow God to help us in those areas where we are grappling and struggling. Okay. The next picture. Okay. Try to imagine this. This is the wind, the Holy Spirit, okay, blowing into our world. Christian life is never static. Okay? It's never fixed. So never think that Church of Nativity is going to be the same as it was 5 years ago, and it will be down the road, it will be fixed. Pews will be fixed. Not people. Not the community. But the Spirit of God blows. Can you think of some of the changes that the Nativity Church has gone through? Not the externals, not the buildings. You can comment about air condition. I came here in 84 to give a mission. No air condition. I remember that. Father Alex was doing this sanctuary at that time. I remember that. But the community, has the community been transformed? Has the ministry, from what it was to what it is today, the Spirit blows. You and I do not have the power to control the Spirit. This is God's Spirit. You and I can respond to the Spirit and allow the Spirit to take us. Either cultivating our own prayer life, our own spirituality, our own ministry, or the challenges that we encounter as we look into our lives, the intra or the inter. Inter, that is with the community. That my Christian life is not only about myself, but also about the community. And prayerful people who are constantly in touch, allowing the Spirit to speak to them, will recognize not everything may be all that right with our our relationship with the community. We have endless challenges. Okay? We have lots of biasness that we carry within us. Should I blame myself? These are lessons we could have inherited from our parents, who may have taught us certain things. Now as I look back, I said, I don't think as Christians we should think like this. I don't think as Christians we should act like this. But my parents taught me. But I have to learn that, to put that aside. Or we learn things from our schools. But if we, as adults, we know that this is not the right way of thinking and doing, we got to learn to put that aside and allow the gospel then to speak to us, because the Spirit blows into our world made up of all kinds of people, rich or poor, different races, okay, different gender, different sexual orientation. They all make up our community. Instead of using my own biasness and prejudices, I ask God for, let the Spirit blow and to teach. And to do that, I remain open to the Spirit. And we find ourselves, as we remain open, then it's just like Vatican II. When the Spirit blew from Latin Mass to English Mass to Chinese Mass to Tamil Mass, in Vatican II, as the Spirit blew from priests to lay ministers, to men and women ministering, to the lay people taking on different responsibility in churches, to the establishment of parish council and finance committee and so forth. We have seen these things working. We have seen this thing that the Spirit is making things new and it's possible. So that's part of our prayer life. Intra, inter, and meta. What is meta? It's beyond the physical. What I talk about ecology. What about the consciousness of the world? Okay? That some of us in our spirituality have taken upon ourselves. Some of us are learning. One lesson I learned when I was 60 years old. I was doing a course, and I learned this from a brother from Calcutta. He told me that he uses 1 mug of water to brush his teeth. 1 mug of water. Okay? And he's from Calcutta. Okay? It just dawned on me. Water, they appreciate it. So many, we just turn on the tap and we brush our teeth. The water runs. I don't know whether you do that or not. I've done that many times. Okay? Because all we think about is that the government supplies the water, you pay the bill. But we never knew how difficult it is to get water and how this resource is depleting slowly. We often read in the papers like KL, many places are without water so many times in a year. Okay? I don't know about Penang situation. Okay? It's happening. Okay? We might say it's maintenance problem, But the truth is, the resource, water resource, is depleting. Okay? We are learning about plastic. We are learning about plastic, how it's affecting our ecology. Okay? Some of us have said to ourselves, no more plastic. So we carry a brown bag when you go to market these days. But others still use plastic bag. Okay? But it's dawning upon us. We've got to play a part. Okay? Some churches you go, they will have sign, no smoking in church compound. Okay? Other places they still smoke, but some churches you go, certainly they are conscious, no smoking. And people are respectful. They want to smoke, they go outside the gate and they smoke. So there are many, many things. You know, those days when you fly, they will ask you, smoking or non-smoking. Okay? And then when you're flying Aeroflot, you say no smoking, they also fellows will smoke. They can't be bothered. Okay? But they will ask you this very important question, smoking or non-smoking. Okay? I was once flying, they asked, vegetarian or non-vegetarian? I said, I want vegetarian. Okay? So the lady comes, at the time, she asked, you're beef, chicken. I said, I'm a vegetarian. She looked at me and said, never mind, today you take chicken. Okay? But that's how it is. We are becoming more and more conscious through our prayer life with able to look into ourselves, my self-esteem, my background, my upbringing, my life, my marriage, my challenges, and we are able to come to terms or reconcile, be at peace, things that have happened to me, instead of getting angry and upset all the time, and come to terms and say how to live life today. And then my neighborhood, my BEC, the community around me. Okay? Should I be all the time fighting and grumbling and moaning and groaning? Or should I learn to live in harmony? Smile a little bit. Forgive more. Okay? Be generous in my forgiveness. These are hard things to do, but these are things that can be done because this is Jordan experience that Jesus encountered, the union with the Father, the mission of forgiveness and healing and loving, and the seeking of solitude to pray, to go and pray from time to time to seek the Father's will. Okay. We have another slide, please. Okay. Now we do ministry, and that is called charism. Okay. I have a charism to teach. I have a charism to collect money. I have a charism to be a BEC leader. I have a charism to be a finance in the finance council. I have a charism to be a prayer leader. I have a charism to lead the novena session. The Holy Spirit helps you, and your charism blossoms, and then your ministry grows. To identify that each one of us have a charism, a gift. St. Paul in his letter to the Corinthians will talk about there are a variety of gifts. You and I will not have everything, but we will have something. To identify my gift and to allow the Spirit to blow into that charism so that your charism will not wither. Your charism will not fade away. Your charism will not just disappear. And it is used to great effectiveness in your ministry, for your parish, of nativity of our Blessed Mother. Now, this you may all have been doing. Okay? You may have been doing all these things. Okay? And that is why we are here. Because you believe in yourself, you believe that God has called you, and now we are trying to put prayer into that particular area of your life. Okay? You got to take your Jordan experience, wherever you were baptized, whoever your godparents are, whichever the priest who baptized you, your Jordan experience that leads you into three things. The Father loves you. Okay? The Father loves you. You and I may doubt that, but the Father is committed. The Father has no option but to love us, because that is the fundamental commitment He has made, to love His children. Okay? And all we can do in response is to love Him in return, which we do. We come for Sunday Mass, we come for weekday Mass, we come for novena session, we may have BEC prayers, we may have rosary at home, we may have Bible reading, some kind of a way we are deepening our relationship with God. Okay? The second thing we learn is that this Father who loves us is now calling us to minister to His community. And so we recognize our charisms. Oh, I can read. Oh, I can help to take up the Sunday collection. Oh, I can do this. Okay? Ministry. Okay? The Father loves you. The Father has called you into ministry. The Father, and we stay connected with the Father through some kind of a spirituality. We go and pray as Jesus did. Okay? If we look at the stories of the great saints, holy men and women that you can think of, they go through a process. And the process is called awakening. Awakening. Okay? That every saint awakens in his life or her life. St. Teresa of Avila took 27 years. 27 years living as a Carmelite nun. Then one day she woke up. She realized that if I'm going to be a holy Carmelite nun, I got to be better than this. Not simply walk into the chapel, say the prayers, and then go have my breakfast, and then after that do this thing, and come again for prayer, and then go and do some other thing, and come back for prayer. She said there must be something more to this. I must awaken to what God is calling me to be. When she discovered that, after 27 years in the convent life, she grew to become a saint and doctor of the church. The story goes like this. One day after prayer, she was walking outside a chapel. The bust of the Sacred Heart of Jesus spoke to her and said, "You cannot be a holy nun like this." That was her conversion. That was an awakening. Okay? And that is what needs to happen to all of us. Something that the Spirit of God tells us, no, there's something that's missing. Something you need to wake up. Okay? You are following a routine, a pattern of life, but you need to wake up. Look at life of St. Francis of Assisi. You don't have a statue here. St. Francis of Assisi was one of those very young, middle-class boy living a very comfortable life, and during one of this cavalier fighting, he goes for a battle and he gets injured. And then he comes back injured, and lying on a sick bed, he begins to wonder, Is this what life is all about? Drinking wine and partying with women and eating rich food and then going for a cavalier? Is that what life is all about? Then he woke up. Then he took away his expensive clothes and put on the brown garment, what the Franciscans wear. And he decided to live a life of poverty and simplicity. That is the awakening of St. Francis of Assisi. Okay? Something happened to him. And that was his conversion and his transformation to become a saint. Every story, every life of a saint is like that. St. Augustine, the great doctor of the church of the 4th century, his story goes like this. He has already fathered a child before marriage. He was working in the Roman court in Milan, very high office in the Roman Empire. But he was also disturbed by the homily of St. Ambrose. He was not a Christian, but he was very drawn by the homily of St. Ambrose. It always disturbed him. And one day he was pacing up and down his study, and then he heard a voice that said, "Take and read." He said, "What is this take and read?" Then he found a Bible, Romans chapter 11, verse 13. The night is far gone, the night is far gone, the day has come. Let us not live like people in darkness. No more drunkenness, no more debauchery. Learn to live as people of light. That was Augustine's conversion. Okay? He knew that he had fathered a child. He knew that he was a man of darkness. He knew that he had to change. Then he came for baptism. Then he was ordained a priest. Then he goes back to his country as a bishop. Today we call him the doctor of the church. Awakening. That's all it begins. Because we can sleepwalk through life, Most of us can walk through life sleepwalking, like as though nothing is happening. Okay? And then you wake up and then you see things differently. You see people differently. You see yourself differently. You see church differently. You see things that are happening in the country differently. That's awakening. Okay? And that's what Jordan experience is all about. Okay? Last slide, please. Okay? Now, our ministering, we must not think. I, as a parish priest, often say to myself, if 4,000 people tomorrow put up their hands and say, we want to do something for the church, I would say, oh my God, what am I going to do with 4,000 people? I mean, all your parishioners come to Father Dominic and say, tomorrow onwards, we want to serve the church. What is Father Dominic going to do with all the people here? He'll be lost. How many catechism teachers he wants? Okay? Then he'll be asking parents who are in their 60s, 70s to give birth to another children. Okay? So, the ministry is about world and the ministry is about church. We must not be inward-looking people. The church is never called to be inward-looking. I gave you examples the other day. During the time of COVID, the bishops in Malaysia spent 1 million giving money to the hospitals to help the sick and to buy whatever equipments needed during the time of COVID. Okay? They were not doing it for Catholics and Christians. They're doing it for the people, the world. Okay? So likewise, the ministry of the church is not just inward looking. We do things in the church, but we also do things in our world. Okay? In our world. Okay? That needs a lot of conversion, especially Malaysia, needs a lot of rethinking, because we're really, in spite of all the religiosity that we have in our country, the many mosques and temples and churches and whatnot, we seem to be a little lost, or very lost. Okay? We seem to be very problematic people. And the Spirit of God will say, we've got to be outward looking. We've got to bring the message to the outside. Not that we are the only ones who believe in peace or harmony or care, but we need to kind of work with others that our world can be a better place ecologically, that we will create a world not only for the next generation, but the following generation, for your great-grandchildren and so forth. Okay? That we will feel safe here, walking out at night and coming home. We don't have to really be scared. I was in Chicago studying there, and our parish is right in the heart of the city. Whenever there's a sick call, we won't go. We call the police to come and take us. Okay? We won't go. Very violent. Okay? When the sick call to a place called Cabrini Green, you can Google and see, no priest will go. They ask the police to come, and then we go in the police car. Very dangerous area. Okay? You go to university in the south side, the lecturers will tell you, don't take night classes. Whatever course you want to take during the daytime. Try not to take the night classes, and then try to get a train to go home. Very dangerous. Okay? Some of our places can be like that. It's very dangerous to go. Okay? And yet, we want to create an environment where we all, and we start with ourselves by cultivating a prayer life rooted in God, so that this prayer life will help us through this Jordan experience. Father loves me. The Father has called me for a mission, and this mission is rooted in prayer. Okay? And this mission is not only inside the church, but it's also outside the church. Okay, 8:15. Shall we close here and have some snack? Okay, little children, put up your hands, those who want to eat and drink. Nobody putting up your hand. Okay. I don't know who brought the cakes. I don't mind taking it back to Chastan Imbad. Okay, we pause here. Any question? Any question you'd like to ask, clarify? Anything that you want to share yourself, your own Jordan experience, how things shaped your life, formed your life? Anyone? No one? Okay, we'll have a 10 minutes break. We're going to eat something and then we come back. Okay, if we can keep moving into the church. Okay, right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your break and snacks. So we like to thank whoever baked it. Who, anybody? Who? Hello, tolong ambil tangan sikit. Okay, those of you who are very busy during Christmas time can order from her. Right, thanks a lot. Very kind of you. Okay, now I thought Father Dominic would be here tonight. He said he will be, but maybe he's held up with other work or what. So we bring our session to a closure. Just to recap the idea about rooted in God, while we are doing wonderful things in this parish, very active, and a lot of very energetic and vibrant people, we may have some challenges. If parish nativity don't have any problems, mean there's something very wrong with us. Okay? If you say to yourself, oh, we don't have any problem, that means you don't exist. Something is very wrong. Every parish has problems. Okay? That means you're normal people. If you don't have any problems, you're very abnormal people. Okay? So maybe we should bring Tanjung Rambatan here. But in spite of the challenges we encounter, you are a thriving parish and multilingual. Language groups are taken care of. Migrant ministry is taken care of. And the local community is attended to. And you have put up a very fine building. Not easy, a lot of hard work. So again, a lot of people not only just made contribution, but also helped to raise funds through a variety of events and all that to make these things possible as for the benefit of the parishioners, for the future parishioners and so forth. Okay. In doing all these things, I just want to remind that we cannot do anything without if we are not rooted in God. This is something we have to just keep reminding ourselves over and over again. The Acts of the Apostles, you'll begin by saying they were gathered in the upper room. It is by prayer, then ministry. Okay? It's not about ministry and then prayer, It's about prayer, ministry. For many of us, we think it's a waste of time. Praying is a waste of time, okay? But it's so important to waste that time in prayer, okay? And it's a very, very difficult thing to do. Spiritual writers will tell us, whether we like it or not, prayer is not easy, okay? It's not easy, okay? It calls for discipline. That means you got to kind of say for myself, I got to pray at a certain time. If I don't pray, I notice, I tend to skip prayer. Okay? I notice this in my life. If I do not pray at a certain time, I tend to skip. I say, never mind, tomorrow I'll do it, So I got to really be faithful to that. Even though it's 5 minutes, I got to be faithful. Even though it's about 10 minutes, I got to be faithful. Even though it's going to be 15 minutes, I got to be faithful. Secondly, I got to choose a place for prayer. I can't say today here, tomorrow there, and the next day there. I can't do that. You got to choose a place for prayer. Okay? You can't be hopping around. You got to choose. Okay, my place for prayer is that corner. So people see me sitting in that corner, they know I'm praying. You know? So like that, I just have to cultivate this time and a place for prayer. Okay? And I got to be consistent. There will be many, many things that will come. See, we work in the parish, you know. Once you get past 9 o'clock, it will be very difficult to say your prayers. Because either there's a phone call, or somebody coming to see you, or something will happen, some maintenance people will come. So you got to start early. That's my life. You got to start early. Okay? If you don't do that, then you're going to say, finish. The whole day is taken up by other things. I am an early person. I don't know yourself. Some of us work very well at night. Some of us work very well in the morning. So people are different, you know. So you got to kind of know, hey, are you a night person or you are a day person? Okay? I am an early person. I get up early. I like to do things early. That's the way I am. Other people like to do things late at night. Okay? That's the way they work. Okay? So I got to kind of do my prayer in the morning. If I say I'll do it later, the chances are I'm going to forget it. I'm just going to walk past it. Okay? This is personal prayer. I'm not talking about communal prayer like Mass, like wedding services, like funerals and all that. This is about personal prayer. Okay? And every one of us need to cultivate that. Okay? Whether with your busy life you can only pray for 5 minutes, make it 5 minutes. Or you say you can give only 10 minutes, make it 10 minutes. But be faithful to that. Okay? And that's how we cultivate prayer life. I don't expect you to pray for 1 hour, 2 hours. No, you are not a priest or religious, you know. You are a married person, you got family, you got to wash clothes, iron clothes, cook, okay, sometimes comb hair for your husband. You got to do all kinds of things. But you got to kind of say, as my Christian baptismal Jordan experience, I need to pray. Just not about Mass, okay, that's your worship, okay? But it's about your personal prayer. Just, you got to find some time, especially your ministry. Secondly, people who are in ministry, when we come for meeting, we just say one prayer and then we begin the session. You notice? You notice that? We say one Hail Mary and then after that, next 45 minutes, all of us are talking together. Okay? The very little prayer time we sacrifice at our meetings because we want to go through the agendas and the business and come to decisions. Okay? But very little time is being put aside to help us to make the right decision, to help us to talk properly, to help us to talk in a way that will not offend others. Okay? We've got very little time for those things. And that is why sometimes at our meetings we seem to be fighting more than talking. Okay? So we learn from the Jordan experience about these things. Pray. Okay? Pray. And then we find ourselves, our ministry flourishing, our own personal life flourishing, our marriage growing from strength to strength, and family life getting better, and parish life getting better, and so forth. Okay. So I leave here. Thank you very much. Thanks to the IT people. Okay. Alex, Brian, who else? Alexa? No. Okay, someone is helping Brian. Thanks a lot, and thanks to you all, and hope to see you all sometime in the near future. God bless you all, and have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you very much. Good night.
So on behalf of the parish, we would like to thank Father Joe Stevens, who have been with us for the last, I think, 2.5 weeks or so for this series of talk. Father Don was supposed to be here. He said we have a token of appreciation to pass to Father, but I guess we'll have to wait until tomorrow, Father. Okay, so tomorrow is the last one, the Tamil version of the same talk. So please do encourage your Tamil speaking friends to come, okay? I think many of you came for all the 5 sessions, like Francis, C.S.R, a lot of you all, see all the hands come up. So, okay, so hopefully Father promised to give those who attended 4 sessions or 5 sessions will get a token of appreciation. I myself don't know what is it. So we'll just have to wait for Father to come up with something. Okay, so thank you once again, and good night everyone. Have a safe trip home. Thank you.